And here's yet another. You probably heard the Walt Disney Company's in the news lately. But before you think about what that company is doing now, it's worth taking a minute to remember what Disney used to be. Whatever his faults, Walt Disney, who founded it, was very pro-American. He believed that this country was a force for good in the world, and he did what he could to support the United States. The day after the attack in Pearl Harbor, for example, Disney allowed 500 U.S. Army troops into the Disney studios in Burbank and let them stay for 9 months. The studio became a staging ground for America's war effort. Disney produced Donald Duck cartoons to promote war bonds. He won an Oscar for a film mocking Hitler. Walt Disney was a committed anti-fascist back when anti-fascism meant opposing fascism, and his work reflected that. The Walt Disney Company today has a very different agenda. Instead of opposing fascism, the Walt Disney Company happily profits from fascism. Let's be specific. In the past decade, Disney has worked directly with China's Ministry of Culture to produce a propaganda film called Born in China. It promotes the Communist Chinese Party. Just last year, Disney released the film Mulan, which was filmed next door to the Uyghurs, the ones China had placed in internment camps. That was a propaganda film. In the end credits of that film, Disney made sure to thank the leaders of the province where the Uyghurs are being interned, the very people responsible for locking up human slaves by the hundreds of thousands. Hypocrisy? It's more than that. While it was filming in China, Disney was threatening to boycott the American state of Georgia. Why? Because Georgia was considering pro-life legislation. Opposing abortion is barbaric, according to Disney, but genocide, no big deal, we're getting rich from it. But the hypocrisy here is not even the most important point. Mulan, like much of what the Walt Disney Company now produces, is intended for young audiences. It's rated PG-13. And that film delivered a clear message, unmistakable, to children. The people committing genocide in China really aren't that bad. In fact, they deserve our thanks. Of course, Disney was not alarmed when people pointed out how creepy this was last year. Instead, Disney treated Mulan like a dry run. If you can promote China to teenagers, they've decided, maybe we can go a step further. Maybe we can boost our allies in the Democratic Party here at home to even younger audiences. And that's exactly what they're doing. What we're about to show you is entirely real. It's a spot airing right now on the Disney Channel. If your kids watch, they've probably seen it. It's not billed as a political advertisement. It's a Disney original. It's original content about Kamala Harris, the vice president, a politician. As you watch this, remember, your children may be watching this right now. They receive no warning before they do. You probably don't know they're watching it. Listen to every word of this. Here it is.
Once there was a young girl who used her voice to make the world around her a better place. Some say the odds were stacked against her, but her mother had big plans for this little flower, who had freedom fighting in her blood. She led a successful protest so kids could continue to play. She rose to places that no woman had. From front lawn activist to Madam Vice President. She will use her voice to run this nation and inspire it too. Kamala Harris, making her story.
Oh. A lot of messages here, but the most basic one for your kids is if you want to improve this country, what do? You protest. You don't work hard. You don't play by the rules. You don't raise decent children. No, you protest. And Kamala Harris led her first protest on a playground. That's basically a miracle. And by performing that miracle, she became part of a divine group of leaders. In other words, Kamala Harris is now transcendent. She's part of a worldwide sisterhood. She's a globalist superhero. Just like Voldemort, you can't really know how to pronounce her name, and just like Wonder Woman, everyone's forced to pretend she's not thoroughly mediocre. All hail Kamala Harris! Now, if you're thinking to yourself, that's too over the top to be real, it's too obvious, that's the kind of propaganda North Korea would be ashamed to air. Remember, this isn't meant for you, it's not for adults. An adult would look at that and smirk at best. But kids don't have those defenses, and that's why they're showing it to kids. And for the kids who still aren't convinced, the non-believers who refuse to recognize the divinity of Kamala Harris, Disney has another message. And that message is, obey, or we'll hurt you. They made that message very clear this week. Disney fired a popular Star Wars actress called Gina Carano. Why? Because she expressed political views that upset the party in charge. She mocked public health experts, for example, and no one is allowed to mock public health experts, no matter how wrong or dishonest or corrupt they prove to be. Contrary to Disney's claims, none of this is about abhorrent language. She didn't utter any. In fact, one of her co-stars used the same language just a few months ago, but he's on the right side politically, therefore he's still employed. This is hypocrisy, yes, but it's bigger than that. Disney is sending a message. The youngest people in the country are now learning the same lessons that kids in China are forced to learn at a young age. Dissent is not allowed. Your first loyalty is not to your family, it's not to your God, it's to the government. And unless you want to wind up like Gina Carano, you'll worship Kamala Harris too.